And welcome to It's Your Call. I'm Lafern Cusack, and today we're taking your calls, so call in at 310-458-4950. We have with us in studio Sandra Lyon. She is superintendent for the Santa Monica Malibu School District, and she's taken all of your questions. And we also have an interactive new part of the show, so you can communicate with us via text, online, or you can tweet us. And we have certain poll questions that we're going to ask you at the beginning of the top of the segment, and then we will give you the answers at the end of the segment. And today's first poll question, tonight we're asking you, the viewer, again to chime in. Approximately how many students are enrolled in the Santa Monica Malibu Unified School District? And you can text to 22333, A, 8900 SM, B, 11,500 SM, or C, 13,000 SM. And you can vote online at pollev.com/citytv or send us a tweet at poll. And welcome to the show, Sandra. Thank you so much for coming. Now, I understand that the Common Core standard is new and is in effect this year. How much has that changed, or how has that transition happened?
Well, anytime you change standards for your teachers, it's a big undertaking. And so we've been working this year on preparing our teachers for the shift. Last year we began that work. This year they're teaching those standards, and we just finished the pilot exam. So teachers and students are getting a real good exposure for that right now. We're in the process of making sure we have materials. There's a whole textbook and supplemental materials piece that goes along with it. So it's been a big learning curve, but we have an amazing staff and they've been up to the challenge. And I feel like in terms of what I hear from other school districts, we are well on our way to having folks fully equipped to make sure that students are accessing those state standards.
Well, so you guys have done your work. How about the parents? How can the parents make that shift to help their children succeed?
It is a shift, and I think that it is important that parents start to understand what that shift looks like. It's not a complete shift. We're not throwing out the baby with the bathwater. So it's important for parents to know there are some things that still look alike. One thing I can say is that we do have a website, and on our website, we actually, at the very bottom of the web page, you can click on Common Core and you'll find all kinds of materials. There are support materials for parents, tips for parents, and a great overview for both math and language arts, K through 12th grade, so that parents can not only see what the standards are, they can look at practice exams and kind of get an idea of what we're going to be asking students to know and be able to do. But additionally, I think what I would ask parents to think about are sort of three major shifts. One is there's a lot more unpacking of nonfiction difficult text, and we all know in the real world that's what you're going to have to do. You're going to do it in college, you're going to do it in career. And so we want students to not just read those fun summer reads, but to actually dig into different manuals and how-to books and nonfiction texts that they can find interesting and really learn from. Another thing that can really help is just a real-world connection for math and language arts, for writing and reading, and really helping students understand that those skills benefit them forever. And then finally, I think it's really about perseverance. These tests are a little bit more complicated. We're asking students not to just bubble in an answer, but to create diagrams, write paragraphs that defend their thinking. So I think we really want parents to understand it's not just that rote memorization. It really is about defending your thinking and really thinking through your problem solving and your attack.
And stand for something.
Absolutely.
Well, we have our first caller on the line. Stanley is on the line. Stanley, hello. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
What's your question for Sandra today?
Sandy, we know each other. I would like you to tell the parents and the taxpayers of the community why you and your colleagues and their predecessors have not seen that the percentage rent provisions under the ground lease from the district to the DoubleTree Hotel have been monitored to see that the district gets all the money that it's entitled to. Why has nothing been done for 20 years until this past week?
Well, thanks, Dan. That's a good question. And I think what you alluded to is we have a lease that is over 20 years old, that has had many addendums, and in fact we have done exactly I think what we should do, which is we've given it to legal counsel, and they are working with us to advise us. Certainly if the district is owed any extra dollars, we will ensure that that happens, and so right now we're making sure that our legal counsel is working with us to determine if there is in fact anything that needs to be done.
That seems to be a concern for a lot of people. So what has made that shift to where it's in action now?
Well, as you might know, that there is a union issue with the hotel, and we have the ground lease for the hotel. We don't operate the hotel, and so as the questions about the treatment of the workers on the hotel, which our board is very concerned about, have risen up, one of the questions has also been about the lease itself and whether there are provisions within the lease that are not currently being adhered to by the owners of the hotel.
All right. Well, hopefully that answered your question, Stanley. Thanks so much for calling in. And if you have any more questions for Sandra, please call in 310-458-4950 because it's your call. Now, Sandra, you were talking about the testing system, and I love how each student is able to determine what they know and feel instead of memorizing and repeating what they have learned. So, because that's not really knowledge. That's just repeating someone else's answers. Is there any leeway for the teachers right now to change how they're teaching their students and what the process they're using?
When there certainly is, and when I first started teaching many years ago, we really were sort of creating those lessons. We didn't have kind of the pacing guides and a lot of the more rigid sort of approaches to teaching that have really happened in the last 20 years. I think what those of us who've been teaching in the field for a long time love about the Common Core is that it really is about having teachers create meaningful approaches to that learning and having students demonstrate that learning in a meaningful way. So what we're hoping is that indeed it sort of gets that creativity and discernment back in teachers' hands so that they're able to really figure out what's the best way for me to have you understand that and for me to know that you do understand it. In our district, we also have professional learning communities, and we're hoping that this new structure helps our teachers be able to make sure that they are each sharing their lessons, that they are calibrating, that they're talking about what works with students and where they need to dig deeper. So in my mind, it's a tough time in education, but it's an exciting time.
Well, Sandra, you're very popular because we have another caller on the line. Leslie, welcome to It's Your Call.
Another caller on the line. Leslie, welcome to It's Your Call.
Hi. First of all, I want to thank the superintendent for all of her hard work.
I'm sorry,
and
Leslie.
I have a hard question.
I'm sorry, Leslie. Can you turn your TV down?
Yeah, its TV's off.
Okay, great. Thanks.
I want to know what do you see as your most important accomplishments, and I know you've done a lot, and what are your top priorities for next year?
Great question.
Thank you, Leslie.
I know. Do you get a lot of great calls like that or questions like that?
Well, we have a lot of great parents like Leslie, so that does make my job so much easier. In terms of the greatest accomplishment, I would think it's just supporting our teachers and our students, and I would hope some of the things that we've been doing this year, and I know Leslie's very familiar with the work, as are many others in the community, around professional learning communities, around RTI Squared, to really make sure that we're giving teachers the resources to support each and every student. That to me is really great work. And I think you asked kind of where we're going in the future, and we have so many things that we want to be doing in the future to really move our students and our district even farther forward. So we're looking at STEM, blended learning. We know that we have all kinds of opportunities around how we're using technology, real world experiences. And I think if we can do anything in the next couple of years, especially with Common Core coming out, it's really going to be about making sure that each of our professionals has the tools and the support that they need to make each student in our district successful. That's really our ultimate goal, and I feel like we have a great team on board to get that work done.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much, Leslie. Next caller, we have Robert. Robert is on the line. Hi, Robert.
Hello?
Hi, Robert.
Hello. Hi, Sandra, thank you. I have a question. We have a child that's going into middle school next year, and for the last 3-4 years, the opening day schedule in August keeps coming sooner and sooner and sooner, and I have yet to be able to get a straight answer from anyone as to why that's happening. There's certainly no parental input on that. And I've been told some rather wild stories from people in your office as to why it is. But why are the schedules starting to moving up every year?
Great question.
I have one follow-up question as well. Thank you.
Okay, so I'll answer this one first. We are working, and as have many districts in our state and in others, to have a full semester before the winter break. One of the things that a lot of students have trouble with is not completing a semester, particularly when they get into the high school years and are able to then come back and take exams. So now our students take those exams, take their winter break, and come back and start a new semester. We also want to make sure that our students are in alignment with the other places that they're going to go to. So, like many districts in the state, we want to make sure that our students who are graduating are actually able to go ahead and enter into summer school, have those programs before they go on to that next year, whatever that might be. So there has been an alignment around the state. We are not unusual in Santa Monica, Malibu, and I have been working with districts up and down the state in prior years, and I can tell you that that is exactly what's happening. We're not going to get any earlier, I can assure you of that, so our calendar has been adjusted. There are schools that start even a week or 2 weeks earlier than we do. We've gone as far as we're going to go. And it also allows our students who wrap up at the senior year, and I know when you're a parent of a younger child, it's hard to understand that adjustment, but when you're a unified school district, it's really important that we have all of our programs on the same calendar.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I would think that everything would be set, but everything has to be adjusted. We have another caller on the line with us. Is it Joe?
Yes.
Joe? Hi, Joe. Welcome to the show. It's your call.
Yeah, hi. Am I on live?
Yes, you are.
Wonderful. I have questions. If I could have two questions.
What's your first question? Go ahead.
The first question is, my understanding is if that Ms. Lawrence has a policy, if there's concern in her office, a teacher or an administrator, the name of individuals are being closed.
Joe, I think you're breaking up. I can't. Did you understand?
I did not understand that.
Can you move closer to the window? Oh, okay. Sorry, Joe. Call back. We couldn't quite hear you. So yeah. So with the school system, is every year going to shift then?
No, we're done. We took 3 years to back up to our start date, which this year will be August 19th. And so moving away from that after Labor Day start, it took 3 years to back it up to where it is now.
I bet you're like, oh.
Yeah. I understand parents' concerns. I've lived it as a parent as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, and in regards to like the new technologies, I know the computer-based system has come into effect. How has that changed with instruction, the teachers and the classrooms?
Well, a lot of teachers are like me. They're digital immigrants, not digital natives as our students are. So I think for a number of teachers, it's a learning curve to figure out how to integrate that technology into what we're doing. Certainly the Smarter Balanced Assessment Consortium, the new what we call SBAC, we love our acronyms in education, what we'll be using to assess the Common Core standards achievement is on computers. So it's forcing us to think about how are students using computers, are they using them? Is there equity in that? Do all students have access to the same technology? And so teachers are starting to also get more creative with it, use it more in an embedded way than as an afterthought. And it's going to be one of our growing challenges as we go forward. We have students who come in now who don't necessarily have keyboarding skills, but are going to do just about everything that they need to do on a computer. So we're learning how to make that shift for our instruction and then for the assessment for our students.
Great, great. And it sounds like we have Joe back on the line. Okay. Welcome back, Joe.
Yes.
Hi, what's your question?
I'm sorry?
Hi, what's your question for Sandra?
My question is regarding the ability to go in and discuss an issue with her without having your information disclosed to whoever, regarding the administrator that your concern is.
Oh,
yeah, that's a challenging one. Thank you for the question.
Thank you, Joe.
One of the things that we have to do with personnel issues is give them due process. So when someone comes in with a complaint or an issue, it really is my job to address that employee and make sure that they understand and have an opportunity to correct that. And we try to do it in as sensitive way as possible, and we also want to support our employees, make sure that they're doing what they need to do and that we've given them support, and make sure that if there's a real complaint that we need to take care of, that we are doing that. So I really do want people to come in and give those concerns to us, and I want them to also understand that if we need to act on it, we will actually talk to the employee as well.
Yeah, I could understand that there must be a lot of legalese that you have to go through and follow.
Absolutely.
We have, again, our poll question for everyone to go into. Approximately how many students are enrolled in the Santa Monica Malibu Unified School District? And we asked you to text 22333, A, 8900 SM, or B, 11,500 SM, or C, 13,000 SM. And you could vote online at pollev.com/citytv, or tweet us at poll. At poll. Now that number must fluctuate a lot, so we're going to
see if people get the right number.
See if people get the right answer. But yeah, as far as the legalese goes, so do you feel that your hands are bound when a parent is talking about or expressing concerns about an employee or administrator?
I don't think I feel that my hands are bound. I do think that I have parameters that I have to operate under sometimes that parents may not understand. And we are a public employment agency. We're actually governed in our personnel by Ed Code. And so there are certain things that we have to follow that a private employer would not have to. And we take those very seriously. So I think I understand sometimes for parents, they want something done immediately, or they may not want it to be disclosed that this concern came forward, and yet there are certain things that we have to follow both for the benefit of the employee and to improve that situation or address whatever the concern is.
And you have to keep accurate records of what's
Absolutely.
happening.
Right.
Yeah, so again, our poll question, approximately how many students are enrolled in the Santa Monica Malibu Unified School District? And again, Sandra Lyon is here. For questions, call in 310-458-4950 for your questions with Sandra. And we are going to get that poll answer right now. Here we go. We have approximately the first answer, 89,000 is 50%, and 11,500 is 50%. So what's the answer, Sandra?
Well, it said approximately, and approximately is really around 11,500. We've actually been higher than that in the last several years. We've come down closer to 11,400. That's really where we're sitting right now, but I often round up to 11,500 because that is where it's been over the last several years. And it does change. We use a benchmark sort of number that we get in October, but as you can imagine, students come in, they go out, so it changes over the course of the year.
Oh, great. Well, we are going to explore that as well, how you get in, how you get out, and all of that in the next segment.
Great.
And again, you can call in and ask your questions with the Superintendent of Santa Monica Malibu School District, Sandra Lyon, at 310-458-4950. I'm Lafern Cusack, and we're going to take a break, and we'll be right back with It's Your Call.
Giving a little can mean a lot to people who are hungry and homeless. Victims of domestic violence need help every day.
I'm here to volunteer.
Together, we can do it. If you do one thing, take one step to help those who need it the most in your community. You just might find that you can bring a smile to those who need it the most. Share your caring at opcc.org.
Looking for something to do this week? You could visit the California Heritage Museum. The museum is open every Wednesday through Sunday, 11 a.m. till 4. Stop by and catch our latest exhibit, find unusual gifts in the museum shop, and picnic on the lawn. We're a block from the beach at Ocean Park Boulevard and Main Street in Santa Monica. The California Heritage Museum. Discover us.
When I grow up, I want to help animals. When I grow up, I want to help animals. When I grow up, I want to help animals.
Tom is my brother. He always made me laugh.
Tom is my firstborn. I taught him how to drive.
Tom is my son. At 20, he was diagnosed with schizophrenia. The illness took him to the street and we feared we'd lost him forever.
But I got help from Step Up on Second, and today I have a home. And my friends and family are back in my life.
Step Up on Second, rebuilding lives one step at a time.
And welcome back to It's Your Call. And again, we have a very interactive show today, so please log on and get your poll questions in. Our next poll question is kindergarten mandatory? And you can text to 22333, A, true, SM, or B, false, SM. Is kindergarten mandatory in California? And you can log on pollev.com/citytv or tweet at poll and the keyword. Thank you again for joining us. Sandra,
Thank you for having me.
I think that, in listing like the common core values, you guys probably have learned a lot this year. Can you tell us some of the things that you have gone through and learned through this core values over this past year?
I mean, in terms of the Common Core standards or in terms of putting that in place?
The first year, yeah.
We've learned a lot. We've learned that we need to make sure that we have materials available, that we have the technology available for our students and our teachers, and time is probably the hardest thing for us to find. And so when you're implementing new state standards, trying to carve out time for our teachers to really get familiarized with the standards, work on lessons, make sure those lessons are working. And one of our biggest concerns has been not having enough funding to fully implement such a rigorous and ambitious piece as the Common Core. The governor did allot some money, which was very helpful for us in starting to purchase some materials, and we're getting some more money, it looks like, that will help us with technology.
Awesome.
But we're hoping that that continues to be a priority as we go forward.
It should. Education should be a priority.
Absolutely.
We have a caller on the line. Will, welcome to the show. It's your call. Thanks for calling in. What's your question?
Hi, my name is Will. I have a little boy who's about 20 months old, and we have a tablet and a smartphone, and we're showing him letters and words, and he's starting to pick these things up. And I recently met a dad at a playground whose pre-kindergarten son is already reading basic words and stories. And so what I'm wondering is, how is Santa Monica prepared to deal with the apparent reality that kids are learning to read before they get to school?
Absolutely.
Things seem to be changing so quickly. How does one stay on top of all the needs of the different kids coming in?
That's an excellent question, Will. Thank you.
It's a great question, and it is one of the reasons that we've really been wanting to create the infrastructure for response to instruction and intervention. And people think of RTI Squared as strictly an intervention program, but when it's really done right and done well, you can be really pushing students forward and really meeting their needs. The goal of this kind of learning structure is that teachers are looking at where their students are, wherever that is, and moving them forward. And in our district, you're absolutely right, we have a number of students who are coming in already able to address those skills. So we're asking teachers and principals to really kind of think of 4 questions. What do we expect students to be able to know and do? How will we know when they can do it? What are we going to do when they don't? And what are we going to do when they come in already knowing it? So that is a critical piece for us to make sure that students are prepped and ready, and that teachers have at their ready strategies, lessons, and abilities to push them on. So you're going to see in the next few years this to be a big piece of what we're looking at, because we are a wonderful school district that has many students who are extremely successful, and our goal is to continue to push them to reach their full potential.
Oh, that's great. And it looks like we have another caller on the line. Molly. Welcome to the show, Molly.
Yes, hi.
Hi.
Hi, okay, so I really appreciate you taking all these calls. This is so great. So my question is that there has been a lot of turmoil recently at Grant Elementary. There were rumors the principal was getting let go, then that she's staying. Now, against the wishes of the teachers and the parents, the teachers are being reassigned grades, and it's causing significant anxiety among the parents and the teachers. And parents are discussing amongst themselves about leaving the school, which is really upsetting, and we really need your help. So I was wondering what your plan is to calm the fears of the parents that the school is in trouble.
Hi, Molly. Thanks for calling. Obviously, this is something that I'm pretty familiar with and that I am working on. And I think, as I said earlier, I don't know if you were able to hear, that I'm going to make sure that we're addressing those issues. And because of the confidentiality of personnel issues, I can't get into it here. But I can assure you that we're going to have a plan. We will make sure that all of our schools, including Grant Schools, needs are met as we get ready for the first of the year. So please know that is very much present on my mind, and we are addressing it, and you will know soon. I alluded earlier to personnel issues and timelines, and so just know that we are abiding by all of those.
And do you get a lot of those types of questions?
I would say more so in our district than in any district I've ever worked in. I think parents are very engaged, they're very active, they're there on the campuses, and so they have strong opinions about pretty much what every detail looks like on their campuses.
And I guess that's better than having parents that don't care at all.
Absolutely, absolutely. We're very fortunate, not just with our parent community, but our community at large.
Yeah, yeah. How do you deal with that? How do you deal with, I mean, a lot of people may have more issues than, you know, the wonderful, hey, Sandra, you're doing a great job type of thing.
Well, that is my job. And I'm a long-time teacher, school principal, so I'm very comfortable and accustomed to dealing with problems that crop up during the day. And it's no different. It's just a little bit of a wider arena that you're dealing with as a superintendent. I mean, we really want our schools to be places where, I always say as a superintendent, my goal is a place where students want to be every day, parents want to send their children, and staff want to pull into the parking lot. You really want it to be that kind of place. We deal with humans and people, and it's not always as easy as people would like it to be, nor as fast, but we certainly take all those concerns seriously.
Great, great. And again, we have another question, another caller on the line. Welcome to It's Your Call. Who is this?
Hi, my name is Ryan. I have 2 kids in elementary school. It's a pleasure to talk to you.
Thanks. Thanks for calling in.
Thanks. So here's my question. So I'm glad to hear that supporting teachers and parents is a priority. You said that earlier, and that's great. So my question is this. When parents and teachers express a concern or express concerns about a principal's ineffectiveness, basically that principal is in over her head at her school or is being a detriment to the school, what specifically do you and the district do to sort of investigate those concerns from parents and from teachers? How do you investigate those concerns, and then what do you do to take action to address those concerns?
It's a great question. It really depends on the situation, and I'm going to talk generically, not specifically. But you have to go and look to see, you know, where the credibility is. What are the issues? Are they resolvable? Are they not resolvable? And it really depends on what the specific situation is. As a principal, I used to put students in classrooms with teachers. Student was fine, the teacher was fine, but sometimes that chemistry and that mix of those two together wasn't a great fit, and I would end up making some changes there. And I think on a larger scale, it's the same for us. Jim Collins talks about people being in the right seat on the bus, and I think that that's the same thing we look at in terms of the organization. There may be people who have great skills skills, great abilities. They just may not be in the right spot. So we're always sort of assessing that. So it's interviewing, it's going out and it's looking at data, it's observing, it's walking the campus. So all those things become part of how you create a bigger picture of what's happening on that school site.
Yeah, and I mean, taking a leader and having a leader come in, especially even in the workplace, you know, you have a new boss and someone might not mold with that boss and they're the horrific boss or something like that. Right. You really have to take into account, well, what is exactly the situation? Not saying that a student or a teacher or a principal is lying, but there's always two parts to the story, and how do you suss that out?
Right. It's delicate.
Yes, very delicate. Well, thanks again for your call, Ryan. We have another caller on the line, Helen. Helen, welcome to the show. Are you there, Helen? No? Okay. All right. Well, call back, Helen. Yeah, so it's really a difficult thing, I think, when you have people that may not mold with each other. How do you go about instigating a way where you can change
the dynamic.
Yeah, change the dynamic.
It's complicated, and I think one of the things that we do with our new principals is we do provide coaching, which I think can help. So it's not the evaluator, it's somebody else who's able to come in and give some support. We have other office staff at the district office who will support employees. But I think a couple of things. One, you know, our parent population are very active, they're educated, they really have strong passion for their school and high expectations for that leader. And so I think that one of our challenges is helping people who can get better, making sure they're in the right seat where they should be, and how much time to give those kinds of situations. So there is no right answer, there's no perfect formula for that, and I think that's partly what gets frustrating sometimes for families or parents who want there to be a quick fix, and we're obligated to take time and make sure that we're doing the right thing for everybody in the organization.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, our poll question is, kindergarten is mandatory in California. Is it mandatory in California? And you can text 22333, A, true SM, or B, false SM. And you could log on pollev.com/citytv or send us a tweet as well at poll. And, you know, Will was talking about getting his son into school and that whole big transition. I mean, what do you do for new parents that are bringing their kids in that may be highly advanced than, you know, any other student that may not have one of those tablets? I mean,
well, and again, that, you know, we have great teachers who do a great job with that intake and that assessment and determining student needs, and there are great opportunities initially for new parents, in particular, to work with the principal and the teacher to make sure that their individual student needs are being met. So it's something we're all very much attuned to.
Oh, awesome. Well, sounds like we have another caller on the line. Sarah, welcome to the show. Welcome to It's Your Call.
Right, thank you. So here's a question for you. We're almost coming up from a year from everything happening with the lockdown, and we don't have anything right now planned as far as what we're going to do in case this ever happens again. We're not even supplied with waters in our school. So what are your guys' plans, and when do you plan on implementing all these safety tools at the schools in elementary, junior high, and high school?
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you. Great question. We do have water at every school, so I am concerned about that. So if you can email me and let me know what school, and I will look into that, because we do have a safety committee at every school. We have a district plan. Our safety committee meets regularly at the district office. Each of the site safety committees meet, and it's something we really actually take very seriously. And at the district office, in fact, we've been working with the city of Santa Monica to make sure that we have up-to-speed training, and then our safety committee has been working with the safety committees at each of those schools to also make sure that they have the current information. So we've been doing school walks to look at gates and access, and really actually taking a pretty comprehensive look at our safety plan. So if you have specifics, please send them to me.
Thank you, Sarah. What exactly goes into like the emergency system? I know here in Santa Monica there are the Office of Emergency Management comes out and helps. Do you guys have a committee?
We do. We have an EOC, an Emergency Operation Command group that meets for our safety committee at the district office, and we run through simulations. We analyze who needs what's going on at each of the schools, and as I said, we recently had city staff come over and go through some of the new information, and we all debriefed on what did happen, unfortunately, last year. So we try to learn from those experiences, and we send staff to training on a regular basis to make sure that we are up to speed. We know safety is the #1 concern that every parent has above all else, and so we take that very seriously. We do regular monthly drills at every school, and for us, safety is all of it. It's if there's a natural disaster, if there is some sort of a uprising, a community or a citizen situation, and so we really want to make sure that each of our schools is prepared regardless of what kind of situation they come to.
All right, we have another caller on the line. Let's hear from Jack. Welcome to the show. It's your call.
Thank you. Question about the start times at the high school at 7 o'clock and the middle school 7:30. These are very early times. A lot of studies have shown that teenagers really need sleep because they tend to go to sleep later, and it's really affected. And we know Santa Monica kids do a lot of homework.
Yes,
is the Santa Monica school system, which always prides itself on progressiveness, are they looking at this study and realizing that maybe this is too early a start? And is there any parental input on that?
That's a great question. You know, this has been a question for quite a few years since the first Brown study, I think, came out and looked at the circadian rhythms and talked about student sleep time. Right now we have Olympic High School, which recently did a pilot to see if they could improve attendance by bumping back their start time, and so far it's worked there. One of the things that we come up against on a regular basis is the impact with after-school activities, sports, and all of those extracurricular activities that our students also engage in. So it is a conversation. I'm glad you mentioned it, because I will mention it at our next principals meeting. We'll talk about where we are with that. But I know that that has been a challenge for us. As you probably know, at our schools we often offer a 0 period as well as that 6 period day, and then when you tag on that the sports events and the other extracurricular activities, it's difficult for us to fit it all into a day. But great question.
Well, let's take a look at our online poll and see the results. Kindergarten is mandatory in California. Is it true? 83% of you said yes, and 17% said false.
Well, I'm glad I'm not giving a grade on this one because it's actually false.
Really?
Kindergarten is not mandatory in the state of California, which is surprising to most people.
Yes.
And you can really enter as a first grader. At 6 years old, you are required to be in school. But up until then, it is not mandatory. We do think this is going to change, and probably pretty soon. Right now we're talking about it as a state because we've been looking at 4-year-old programs. So how can you implement a mandatory 4-year-old program if kindergarten is not mandatory? Right. So I'm expecting somebody is going to change that in the legislature soon.
Very, very interesting. I learned a lot. All right, well, thank you so much. Now we are going to take a break, but when we come back we can talk more with Sandra, Lyon, Superintendent of the Santa Monica Malibu School District. Again, call in 310-458-4950. I'm Lafern, Cusack, and it's your call.
$5 feeds 20 people?
Pretty amazing, huh?
Who gets this food?
Seniors, Gulf War veterans, and families trying to make ends meet.
All right, here's $5. Wow, that was fast.
We don't mess around.
How fast can you make this work?
Thank you.
No, miss. Thank you.
You can be a hero too. Please donate to the Westside Food Bank.
Hey kids, what if you saved enough money to buy your own thing? You could buy a video game or even a car one day. You could even help your parents out and pay your own way through college. Let's start by playing a fun game I created just for you. Begin by splitting up every dollar you receive. Put 7 dimes in your spending jar, 2 dimes in your save-a-little jar, and 1 dime in your future jar. To find out more about this game, have your parents help you log on to kidsfinance.com.
Being in foster care was like always living in someone else's house. Being adopted means me and my brother and my sister never have to move again. Last week, our new parents took us to the beach. We'd never seen the ocean before. We collected seashells, and we ate ice cream, and we built a sandcastle, and it was awesome.
Small things mean a lot to a child in foster care. For more information on how you can foster or adopt a child, contact Share Your Heart LA today.
As life transitions,
Volunteer opportunities.
senior resources,
Your trusted source.
And welcome back to It's Your Call. I'm Lafern Cusack, and this is a very interactive show, and thank you so much for calling in with all of your questions with Sandra Lyon, Superintendent of the Santa Monica Malibu School District. Again, call in 310-458-4950. Now, our next poll question is, in our school district, how much time are middle schoolers expected to spend on homework daily, Monday to Thursday? And you can text in to 22333, A, 1 to 2 hours SM, B, 45 SM, or C, 03 SM. And you can vote online at pollev.com/citytv or tweet at poll. Again, tweet, send text to 22333. And Sandra, that is very interesting because, you know, a caller just asked a particular question as well. Excuse me. How much time do we spend? You know, there's so many kids that are going to extracurricular activities. Do you guys monitor how much time a student spends on homework, on extracurricular activities and all of that?
It's hard. You know, one of the things I think our counselors do a great job of is try to help parents keep that in perspective. Our administrators and our teachers do as well, because we have very ambitious and very goal-oriented students who really do load their plates full. So we always want people to be mindful of, you know, striking that balance so that we have kids who I'm just impressed and amazed on a daily basis with what they do with music and sports and other kinds of endeavors. A lot of our students are volunteers and really give back to the community. So it's amazing what our students take on, and so it's just good to be mindful of how do you strike a healthy balance for your student.
Yes, a healthy balance is key. And we have a new caller on the line. Suzanne, welcome to It's Your Call. What's your question for Sandra?
Oh, thank you for taking my call. I was just calling a little follow-up on an earlier question I heard you answer about when parents and teachers have complaints about principals' effectiveness. I'm wondering how long, when you have that kind of consensus among teachers and parents, it takes for the district to respond and actually make a change in leadership.
Well, you know, it'll take a while. It just depends on the situation and the timing of it. But usually within a couple of months we try to wrap it up, and I know that again, doesn't feel like it's fast enough, but I can assure you that we take those things seriously and we work on them diligently with our human relations department, with the individuals involved, and we have a board to keep up to speed, and things have to go through our board as well, depending on what kind of a personnel action it is, and so we have to go through things in the appropriate manner, but things are resolved as quickly as we can.
What is the role of effectiveness? What are the standards that are held up?
Great question. And a lot of times these issues aren't really, it's about a definition of effectiveness.
Yes.
So what may be effective to one parent, often a lot of these issues are around communication, they're around other issues that are very difficult to determine exactly the accuracy and the level of the concern initially.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you so much. We have another caller calling in. Jeannie, welcome to, it's your call.
Oh, hi there. So here's a question. The whole DSS has now become a little bit of a nightmare, kind of across the board. What is your plan as far as getting corporate fundraising? In addition to corporate fundraising in the local Santa Monica district, how do you plan on educating the schools more to a level to where they want to donate? Because right now people are very upset and the whole system has become almost a joke. So what is your plan?
Thanks for that question. And if it's all right, I'll give a little bit of background for people who may not be familiar with the Vision for Student Success, sort of where it came from and how we are where we are. For years, as the state cut the budget in the state of California, programs were eroded across the state and certainly across our district. And so what had happened was PTAs in certain schools were asked to help continue those programs, and they did. We've been very fortunate to have parents who are extremely generous and who wanted to keep those programs alive. Unfortunately, over time, what happened were great inequities across the district because you had some schools where parents really could afford to pay for a rich art program or to pay for extra technology or some of those amazing other programs and enrichments, and other schools couldn't. And so the board several years ago in 2011 changed the policy that says all fundraising for staff and for professional development for staff goes through the Santa Monica Malibu Education Foundation, and then those funds are allocated equitably and equally across the district. And so that really is the Vision for Student Success. That's how it was born, so that instead of parents who were so generous out of their pockets to pay for reading teachers at different schools, that comes now through a centralized mechanism, and those reading support, those instructional coaches are delivered to every school site. So the struggle, especially in the first year and last year, was this huge psychological shift from knowing what I'm going to have at my school to this sort of unknown district administered program. And I think as we roll it out in July with rich programming across the district, people will start to tangibly see what that's translating into, that every school is going to have a K-5 arts program, and schools will have control over that. Every school will have discretionary funds to keep some of those things going. Every school will have instructional assistants. So I think as the tangible realities of it materialize in July, we'll start to have people understand it a little bit better. The other issue this first year was what I call the bifurcated year, in that PTAs were continuing to have to support those staff positions and raise money for this launching of the first year. So it was really a dual ask, which was significant. This year, PTAs aren't having to raise money for those positions, and so they really are going to not need to spend nearly the time on fundraising that they have been in the past, and I know a lot of PTAs are looking forward to that. So we are very optimistic that we're going to get to a place where people understand the programming, understand how it's being raised, and how it's being delivered at those school sites. We are looking for corporate sponsors, and the Ed Foundation has done a great job, as you probably know, in bringing in not only corporate sponsors but private donors. And last year we had Dun & Bradstreet Credibility Corporation, for one, that made a significant donation and then is working with our district on internships. So the Ed Foundation is continuing to really work on developing those relationships. But one thing we do know is this: in the school districts where this has really worked and been successful, the majority of the funds come from parents. And they all told us when we did a panel where we brought all these school districts together and Ed Foundation boards and said, how did it work for you? They said the first year was really hard because they were doing the same sort of dual support. But after that, our parents started pitching in, and for most of them, 87% roughly of their funding is actually from parents. And so we're optimistic that we're going to get that rich parent support and continue to develop partnerships. And our real goal next month is to work as a superintendent's advisory committee to not just think about what we're asking right now, but to be aspirational and to get parents excited about we talked about dual immersion programs earlier, about ways that we can use some funding to support the things that the state of California certainly cannot.
Wow, and fundraising is difficult.
It is
hard.
Difficult.
And again, we're asking you to text or call, or not call. You can call in and ask questions to Sandra, but log in online, pollev.com @citytv or tweet us @poll, and our keyword in our school district: how much time are middle schoolers expected to spend on homework daily, Monday to Thursday? A, 1 to 2 SM, B, 45 SM, or C, 03 SM. Let's see if you guys know the answer to that. Now, I love that the Santa Monica Malibu School District has kept arts in schools. Was that very difficult? I mean, it's all the funding.
Absolutely, and I think, as I stated earlier, the reason that we have such rich programming is really the community and parent support for those programs has been phenomenal. Before I started, you may be familiar that there were some huge cuts that were on the table, and the SOS campaign was run. It was in conjunction, the Ed Foundation and the PTAs together, and they raised an amazing amount of money to keep those programs alive, and that has continued to be the case. So when I go to meetings and conferences up and down the state, and people know our rich arts programming. They're amazed with what we're able to do.
And are they trying to take on what you guys are doing?
They are, and even with the I will say, with the centralized fundraising and the move to make sure that we have equity in programming as a public school district across our district, I get a lot of calls. We're getting a lot of calls from districts up and down the state who are watching what we're doing to see how they can be successful as well. So it's exciting.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to the achievement gap. I know that's part of your mission in closing that. What do you think the report card is going to be for your district?
I'm a harsh grader, so maybe I won't give myself a grade right now. I think that we've made some great strides, and we have an actual plan, a 5-year plan. It's called our Equity and Access Plan, developed by our Assistant Superintendent of Ed Services and her team, Dr. Terry Deloria. And we really are breaking it down into a number of pieces: student support, intervention, community, cultural proficiency, and really looking at access. And so we've done some things in the last couple of years to open up that access. Clearly, we're not there yet. And one of the reasons that I came to Santa Monica Malibu was I really do believe with our resources and our community that is so passionate about public education that if anybody can really take great strides to close the gap, it is us. So we're hoping through the local control accountability plan, our new funding mechanism and the plan that goes with it, that we're going to engage stakeholders and really start to create a plan that targets all of our students, moves everybody forward, and is really a push for those students who are still not achieving at the levels that we know they can and that they need to be successful in their lives and careers.
Do you find it difficult or easy to get parents on board to help this move or shift in the achievement gap?
I don't think it's difficult. I think what's difficult are the answers. And what I say all the time in our work is that if it was that easy, we'd have already done it. We have a lot of really smart, educated people sitting around the table every day trying to determine what are the right supports to put in place. I think one of the things that we have going for us right now in the city of Santa Monica in particular is the Cradle to Career Initiative, where we're really working as a community at large as to how we support students from birth all the way to that launching, whether it is into a career or into college and beyond. And so I'm really optimistic that these partnerships that are being formed are going to really help us because, we try to remind folks we have kids with us roughly 6 hours a day. And so what we know about students who tend to fall in their academic achievement, it's those out of school times, whether it's that extended summer or that afternoon or weekend, where we need to figure out how can we shore them up and give them experiences that help make them more successful.
Yeah, it sounds like the partnership is the key.
Partnership's the key.
We have another caller on the line. Jerry, welcome to, call back, Jerry. Yeah, that is a strong key, to have the support of the community partners, the parents, and also bring the kids along to make it a more cohesive, everyone says it takes a village. It does.
It absolutely does. And, we recently had the early childhood conference at Rand. And it was wonderful in the afternoon to have a panel with myself, Rod Gould from the city, and Dr. Chui Sang from SMC talking about the alignment in city programming, in school district programming, and in the college. And that's a really unique structure to have, and we're very fortunate in our school district to have those partners who really know that as a school district, we aren't getting funded at the way that we are able to educate the students as our community would like. I harp on this every chance I get, but when you look at any measure, even with the new monies that we have coming into public education, we're 47th, 48th, 49th in public school funding and student expenditures, and I just don't know how that's good enough for us in California.
What sets your school district apart from others?
Well, I've alluded to it many times today, but it really is that amazing community involvement. When you look at how our community has supported us with bond measures, with parcel taxes, with fundraising, and really just being engaged and being on campus, willing to do just about anything, that is a very unique aspect to our community that I am grateful for every day.
And we have Jerry back. Welcome to It's Your Call, Jerry. What's your question?
Yes, thank you. I think this is a very interesting program.
Thank you.
I'd like to ask Superintendent Lyon if she can do anything to allow more time for people to have more input on the very beautiful mural on the wall of Olympic High School.
Oh, yes.
1978, Jane Golden, the wonderful artist, did that environmentally themed mural called Muir Woods,
right.
And it needs some restoration, but it seems that there ought to be a way to allow that to happen because it's a very important artistic work and has a very important pro-tree and pro-forest message.
Thank you so much. Yes, I love looking at that.
Hi, Jerry. Thank you for calling. And Jerry does love trees, and I appreciate that. And actually, Jerry, I was talking about you this week because Janie Gates is going to call you, the principal, but we can talk about that offline. There is going to be a process, and there's a lot of time now to develop what that mural looks like. I think that we understand and we hear the desire to keep it as it is, and it is no longer Muir Elementary School. It is now Olympic High School. It's an alternative campus. It really is a place we're trying to create belonging for adolescents on that campus and in that community. And so I know what we're going to do is open that up so that we can have more interaction and allow folks to work with us on that. One of the things I think we do well is that interaction piece, and that will be continuing. We have a lot of time for planning and discussion, so I expect you to be at the table for that conversation, Jerry.
And we have Nick. Nick, welcome to It's Your Call.
Hi.
Hi, what's your question?
My question is what is the best way to make a complaint about a principal to you in your office, and while also, not having the principal know so that my kids or me are, jeopardized?
Sure. So obviously we have a formal complaint procedure. It's on the website, and you can go on there. The forms are there, and you can send in an email. You can contact Human Relations, or you can email me directly. And as I alluded to earlier, we really do try to keep things as private as we can while also doing the right thing to make sure that any employee who has a complaint made against them has the right to understand what that complaint is. One of the things that I do also like to say is that I've heard this from a number of parents across the district, school to school to school, that they don't want to bring something forward because they worry about retaliation. And I can assure you that that will be addressed. And I really, I was a long-time middle school principal, and I always let students know that as well. If they were dealing with a situation, it wasn't okay not to say anything for fear of the consequences of that. We'd rather you said it and let us know, and then we can work toward a solution that's viable for everybody. So please make sure that you contact us.
All right. Well, it looks like we have the results to our poll question in our school district. How much time are middle schoolers expected to spend on homework daily? And the 1 to 2 hours, 38% of you said that. About 45 minutes, 25, and 3 hours, 38%. What's the answer, Sandra?
Well, first of all, I'm glad we're not giving grades, I think, again. It really is 1 to 2 hours.
All right.
And that is based on research that says we really should start with about 10 minutes in kindergarten. That's where students' attention spans really are. And you add about 10 minutes per grade level. I'm sure some parents are sitting there thinking that is not true. My student spends hours. It varies for every student. So just a couple, if I can just say a couple things, 'cause I know we had a homework question we may not get to. Just make sure that you're working with your principal and your teachers on that. If it's too much or too little, it can always be adjusted.
Thank you so much. And sorry we didn't get to everyone's call. Sandra is actually, you know, one of the most sought after people to talk to. So thank you so much, and thank you so much for joining us, Sandra.
I enjoyed it.
And thank you for joining us on It's Your Call. I'm Lafern Cusack. Have a great week.